Hola, Familia, and welcome to today's episode of Fire and Butterflies, where vulnerability meets authenticity, where courage meets love, and where fire meets butterflies. And my name is Comadre Cristal, and I am your host of this amazing podcast. And today, we're going to talk about a I feel that it's a topic that needs to be talked about more often, especially through the changes that life will throw at us and through the chaos, through the heartbreak, through the grief, through the loss, through the traumas, and that is spirituality. Um, I want to talk about spirituality because for quite some time in my life, I didn't have spirituality in my life. And the moment I started to embrace spirituality, that's when my life took a radical turn for the better. And it's been a whirlwind of an experience, and I want to talk about that today. So if you're interested to hear about spirituality and my take on it and my tips, come and join for the rest of the episode. So yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let me kind of rewind a little bit and start off with let's define spirituality. I think that's like the main thing that I want all of you amazing listeners to hear what my definition is of spirituality, and from there you get to take it and make it your own. So the way I define spirituality is it's this connection, this belief of a connection with something bigger than you, a power greater than you, a source greater than you. It's almost like this belief in something. And the reason why I don't say it's a person or like I really do, for me it has become this place of believing in just something bigger. Like I don't know what that is. I don't. I just know that there is something bigger. There has to be. But again, that's my choice. That's something I believe in. So that's how we're going to define spirituality for this podcast episode. We're defining it as the belief of something bigger than oneself. So with that being said, I want to share that I was not always spiritual. I was, for my friends and family who know me, for my especially my family who have been with me my whole life, and for my friends who know me very well, a lot of them will share that for quite some time I was actually atheist. I didn't believe in God. Um, and so I want to start from there because I think that was a place that really pushed me into what I am doing today and how I've gotten to this place. And then from there, I want to share my tips of if in case you're coming here and you're something's resonating and you're like, hey, this is seems to be calling my name. I got some tips for you. So sit back and let's enjoy this conversation. So I grew up Catholic. As many of you may or may not know, I grew up in a Catholic household, Mexican Catholic household. I want to say Mexican because there's also like the more I have studied religions and have studied different belief systems. Mexican Catholic is very different from other Catholics. Again, my experience, my belief, take it or leave it. That's up to you to to do your research on it. And growing up in a Catholic household, it was interesting because my mom and my dad were not extremely religious. Like they believed in the church, they believed in Christ, they believe in everything, the saints, angels, everything that the church promotes. However, we were not church goers. Like we didn't go to church a lot. And I think that had a lot to do with the fact that we lived in another country. I mean, keep in mind, I was born in Mexico. My mom and dad were born in Mexico. And so living in another country with different belief systems, I mean, for those of you who are listening here are in the United States, you know what I'm saying. Like the United States has so many different kinds of religions and cultures. Um, and so I think that played a role. Again, this is me assuming. I never really had this conversation with my mom. Now I want to have it. Um, but we didn't go to church a lot. But when we would go to Mexico, oh, best believe my mom would be like, "Okay, let's go to church. Let's go do your thing." Um, but my mom never really pushed her. Oh, he did push her beliefs, but she didn't push this idea of the church is right or wrong. What instead she really encouraged my sister and I to learn about the Bible, to learn about how to pray, the prayers and I remember like that was one of the things that I felt very uncomfortable about at the church, especially in the Catholic Church. I always felt that there was so much guilt and shame that was thrown at the people receiving, thrown at the people receiving, I mean, yeah, but and I don't know if the word thrown is what I should be using, but I'll use this as an example. In Spanish, there's a prayer that says por mi culpa," and as they're saying "por mi culpa," they're hitting their chest. And translated for those of you who don't speak Spanish, it's because of my fault, of my fault, of my fault. And you're hitting your chest, and so it's like it's I felt when I would do that when I was a little girl, I felt like, "But what's my fault? I did nothing. Like I've not, I'm like I'm only a little girl, and why am I like blaming myself for something?" And I never really understood that part. But I was a child and I couldn't question things and I had to accept things for what they were. But it always just like was weird. It was always like that's the best way to describe it for me. It always felt weird. Some things I didn't agree with. Like I could not understand how that made things okay. Um, but again, never shared my thoughts, never shared my concerns. Always just I was like a sponge. Like I was a sponge just taking all of this information in. And that's really what it was like my whole childhood. Like I knew God was there. I knew that the saints were there. Like I knew I don't know if I really believed in them. I don't know if that makes sense. Like I knew of them. I just it just was like this disconnect. Well, when my dad passed in 2007 when I was 18 years old, that disconnect completely went hard disconnect. Like I became very angry. I was very angry at God. I was very hurt. I was grieving, I didn't understand why. Like I could not understand why. Why would God allow things like this to happen? And yes, my dad was an alcoholic, and yes, my dad was abusive. And yet, but he was still my dad. So it was like a weird place to be in. And it created this relationship with me and God where I just walked away and I said, I can't believe in you. I don't believe in you anymore. Like there's no such thing as a God. And and yeah, I like turned away from everything. Everything, everything, everything. I mean, everything. Um, I remember my mom was not very happy about that. Yeah, my mom was not very happy about that. Early 20-year-old, well, 18, 19, you know, um, I was also not very respectful about it. Like I was very disrespectful about it. Like I would flat out tell my mom, like, this isn't real. Why are you doing this? And yeah, I own up to that part of I own up to that part of me. And I see why I was doing that. I know I was protecting myself, but I was harming others while I was doing that. So that's how I remained for quite some time. Until, when I was, because my dad passed when I was my freshman year in college. It wasn't until my junior year, like my 3rd year in college, where I like something happened that kind of got me thinking, okay, maybe there is something bigger, but I don't know what it is. And what happened was I was introduced to, for the first time ever. I think at this point I was like 20, 21, and I was introduced to a psychic. Like, yeah, this is where you get to take what you like and leave the rest. This is where you get to interpret your own stuff. This is my story. I'm just sharing it. And the psychic shared some information about my dad. And there was some information that made sense and some that didn't. However, the things that did make sense, like it spoke to me. Like it was like I can't deny this. Like I cannot deny this. Um and right there it was so funny that this is like the one thing that I will always remember, especially because this is the part that spoke to me. When she was channeling my dad, she said, "Your dad does not want you to stay mad at God anymore." And when she told me that, I was like, "What?" Oh my gosh. Okay. Like, I mean, I wasn't like, I was not I was crying actually. How like I broke down in tears because I was just like, "Oh my God." Like, "Oh my God." And I remember she said, "Your dad does not want that for you because he too was very angry at God at one point in his life." And he was. I remember. I remember when my dad was angry at God because he had also lost his father and his brother a month apart. And so and so when she said that, I was just like, "Holy shit." And so she shared that I could my dad all my dad wanted, like, my dad did not want me to go back to church. Like, just wanted me to start having a relationship with God. But I didn't know what that was gonna look like. And I told her, I was like, I don't know how to, like, I don't know how to I don't know how to heal this severed relationship. Um, and so she gave me some tips, and I did them for a little bit, but then, that kind of fell off. However, the one thing that moment did spark was that was like my very first introduction to the other side of spirituality, because I had experienced the side of spirituality when it comes to the religious side, because that, I mean, again, spirituality is the belief of something bigger than you. Churches, religions have this belief that there's something bigger than them. So I had always experienced a structured, organized, institutionalized religion sense of spirituality. But this time with this medium or psychic medium, I was introduced to spirituality in a different, like, it was not religious. It was something I couldn't understand. Like I just was like, what? And so her tips were to meditate, to light incense, and while I'm lighting incense, to meditate and pray, um, and talk to whoever I wanted to talk to. At that point, I remember she encouraged me to talk to my dad, and then she shared how I can, like, really feel my dad's presence around me if I ever wanted to, and to know when my dad's presence, when, like, to look for those synchronicities, to know that, okay, like that's my dad. So, like, for example, one of the synchronicities, every time every time there's a bluebird around, I know my dad's around. It's just, at this point, it has been something I've been doing for 10 plus years. I already know my dad's around when I see a bluebird. So things like that's where it started. And that's where I really started to say, well, you know what, you're right. My dad's right. I cannot stay mad at God forever. Um, but I don't know how to fix this. And so then I just let it be. Like, I just started trying. I knew I didn't want to go back to religion. Religion was just not calling me, especially because by this point, I had been doing some research on my own when it came to religions and what kind of religions and what religious stood for. And some of them, great stuff, other stuff not so great. None of it really called me. So I just kind of left it at that. Fast forward, I'm living my life, doing the best I can. I don't have a relationship with God at this point, but I do have an awareness that God, there is a God. There has to be a God. It was kind of like I see you, but yeah, hey, that's cool. That kind of relationship. Um, it's like I became more agnostic more than I was at that point atheist. I was more agnostic at that point. And I, from college, moved back home and again was living at home, doing my thing. And churches just kept coming up, like, just go to church. And I would go to a church and it felt good. Every time I would go to a church, I felt good. The music, the vibe, the messages were also good. But then always something would happen. Like either a topic would be talked about that I'm like, I can't, like, I don't belong here. Like, I don't belong in this church. I would go to some churches that did not believe in the right of a man and a man to love each other, or a woman and a woman to love each other. And I couldn't, like, that went against my values, because like, I believe love is love. I believe love is love. I don't believe in the fact that it has to be a man and a woman in a relationship. So that was like a few of the things that it steered me away from religion. And so much more, so much more. But I kept going. I kept trying to figure it out. At this point, I was developing a closer relationship with God, but again, it was at a distance. Like, I see you there, I'm going to keep you there because I'm good over here. But I know you're real. I don't know. I see you. That's really what it was. Um, Then, if for many of you listeners who have seen or heard all my episodes, and then I met Lynette. I met Lynette in 2013, and at this point, I was like 23, 24. I think I can't remember math anymore. But anyways, I met this amazing woman, and She she was just, I mean, she was so cool. She was so cool. She was very witchy and very, like, spiritual, and she always talked about crystals, and she always talked about tarot cards. She always talked about astrology, and I'm like, this is like, I mean, this is cool stuff. Like, I don't know any of this, but tell me more. Um And she did. And she did tell me more, especially when I remember the first time she pulled out her tarot cards. And I was like, "No, I can't. That's like that is evil." And she goes, "Who says it's evil?" I'm like, "I don't know. Like, you're right. Who says it's evil?" And then it was that reminder of, again, a religious institution had made me believe that these things were evil. But why? Like, where did that come from? And so I decided to take a leap, and I was like, "Well, sure, I'll take a reading from you." And her reading was so spot on with so many things. And I was just like, what is this? What's going on? So she started teaching me a little bit about tarot readings, and then she started infusing a little bit about crystals, and then started infusing a little bit about candle and herbs, like all those amazing little things. And like, again, for me, I was in a place of like, this is all cool, like, it all makes sense. And like, I seen this side of spirituality because her belief was just always like there's a God, like there's this higher power, there's this source, this spirit that is guiding us and showing us and helping us. And and she just always talked about that. And so I just started really getting into it more. And so I remember when she was with me and I bought my first tarot deck. And I was so excited. Her and I had also signed up for a class that a friend of mine was teaching, Tarot 101. And I was like, okay, Lynette, let's do it. Let's learn about like because she also wanted to because she she wanted to know the history of the tarot cards, because even though she was a tarot reader, like, she just was intuitive with it. She just didn't know, like, the history and the meaning of the cards specifically. And so when we took the class, it was just so beautiful how these cards I don't wanna say they spoke to me because it wasn't that, like, that instant, like, I'm hearing voices or hearing things, like, but there was this connection with these cards that I had bought. And it was a deep, beautiful connection because I truly felt that every card that would come out was trying to tell me something. And I really enjoyed it and I really liked it. And so I continue to practice more with that. And at this point, I don't want to claim that I was a spiritual person yet because I was not a spiritual person. I just believed in these things, but again, it was that distance of like I see you there, I'll stay here, you stay there. But this is all cool stuff. Let me look into it. Then the pandemic happened. So for all of you who remember 2020, yeah, the pandemic happened. And I remember at that point, it was interesting to see so many people leave, like to see so many people die, then to start really reflecting if you were ever going to be next. I don't know if any of you experienced that, but that's how I experienced the pandemic. Watching the news, watching all these things happening. And not just that. I mean, again, depending on what you remember, but there was also a lot of unrest because of the murder of George Floyd. And that was also sparking up a lot of those things of like I remember just sitting there thinking, "Holy shit, the world is falling apart. People are dying, people of color are speaking in and stepping up and speaking out for themselves, and it's like this is amazing and it's scary because it was just again that was my experience here in this country. I don't know about other countries, but that was my experience, and it just gave me a lot to reflect on of like I I don't want to die. Like it was I think seeing death so close to others um was really scary, and it really put you in a place of, "What am I doing with my life?" That's when I started to really question, "What am I? Like, what who am I? What is happening?" Um, I was newly married at that point, so this was 2020, and I was married, um, and Lynette was at this point too, Lynette was going through her cancer treatments. And then when she passed in October of 2020, I wasn't angry at God. This time it was different because her and I had been so connected. There was times where I could feel her presence and I could there was just this belief, and I could feel it even more when I would do my own tarot readings and I would just pull out the cards and it was just like all of these messages would just come through and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like I feel so connected with her." And I don't know, like I think at that point I remember the grief was so hard. And it was okay, so this is what happened. I did my first manifestation and it came into fruition and it I don't want to say it freaked me out because it didn't freak me out. It kind of just like opened my eyes of saying like this shit's real. So what happened when Lynette passed, I was in such a deep grief and I remember saying it out loud. Um I think I said it out loud to my then husband and I said, "Hey, I'm really going through this grief. I'm really sad. I'm really depressed. I don't know what I need, but I feel like I need a black female cat because again, Lynette was very witchy. Lynette loved black cats. And I already had one cat at that point, and I was like, I want a black female cat to just feel like I just want to have something so I could always remember Lynette. Just like a bluebird always reminds me of my dad, I wanted my own black female cat here in my home. Familia, literally. Within a few days, I had a friend text me saying, "Hey friend, we have a black female cat that we're trying to find a home for. Are you interested?" And I'm like, "Oh my God. Yes. Thank you, Lynette. Thank you for bringing me this black female cat." And so that kind of just was like the push I needed to know there is a life after death. There is something like I cannot make this up. Some people you want to call it coincidence. That's great. Call it a coincidence. It was a great coincidence that I needed. So I ran with it. And so that's when I started to really tap more into spirituality. And I was like, I just want to learn more. I want to know more. I just want to do this. And and that's when I remember one day just saying it out loud. Okay, God, I'm ready. I'm ready. I don't remember saying I'm ready to meet you, but I remember having like that feel like I'm ready. I don't know what I'm ready for, but I'm ready. Let's get together. Let's have this relationship that you have been patiently waiting for me to have with you. And it didn't happen just like that. I will be honest with you. It did not. It took time. It was a slow progress. Um, but it started happening. Like little things started happening. And so then by the end of 2021, a whole year had passed, and it was a lot of the not the same thing, but a lot of just belief in something. A lot of things were happening. And then in the summer of 2021 was when I I don't wanna call it a rock bottom because it was not a rock bottom, but it was that pivotal point, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes. That was the summer where my then husband and I decided we were ready to start a family, and we were going to go through the foster to adopt route. And when we were doing the paperwork, I realized I'm just like my mom and my dad. I don't want to do this. Like I can't bring in kids into this world that I don't like. I I'm still broken in the inside. And that's when I remember going to God and saying, I need help. I don't know how to do this. Um Honestly, I didn't even go to God. Like I went to Lynette and I was like, Lynette, I don't know what I need. Um to please like guide me because like here's the thing, like Lynette was that guide for me. Like when she was alive, I would go to her for readings, I would go to for her for spiritual guidance, I would go to her for these things. And so I went to her spirit and saying I need help. I don't know how am I going to be a mom. Like you were a great mom and help me. Like I want to be the kind of mom you were. And that's when things started shifting for me. It was like I was set up with a 12-step recovery program for my own recovery of codependency. and just things just started shifting. And interesting enough, a lot, majority, all actually. I don't know. I maybe I shouldn't be saying all because I don't know for a fact that it's all. But from what I know, majority of 12-step recovery programs are a spiritual based program. And even that, I remember thinking, I don't know, like spirituality, I don't know, how is that going to help me? How is spirituality going to help me become a better mom? Like, I don't get it. But you know what? Who am I to question it? So I started go attending weekly meetings. I started doing that part, and yeah, I mean that was like, it's so funny because for those of you who are familiar with 12-step programs, the first three steps really are what they call the foundation, and it's really all about you creating a relationship with God. So there I was learning how to create a relationship with God based on recovery. Um, And that's honestly where it really deepened. Because like I said, before this, I saw God, I just didn't have that relationship. Now I was trying to build that relationship and trying to figure out how to do that and how to unlearn my religious thoughts, unlearn my belief systems that were ingrained in me, but from a religious viewpoint. And so it was a lot of just trying to figure this out, figuring out what felt right, what didn't feel right. And so it just kept going like that. And it was just a few beautiful things would start unfolding. And but yet my relationship with God kind of it wasn't like this. It was like this. Like, I see you, but we're not together. Um yeah, that's how I'll describe it. And then my kids came into my life, and that was in 2022. And then when my kids came into my life, oh, yeah, that's really when I leaned on God and said, I need help. This way over my head. This is so complicated. Um, and then I just trusted that my pleas were being heard. My prayers or whatever you want to call it. And and it for the first few months, I felt like I don't feel like I was drowning, but I was learning. Like, I mean, I became a parent overnight, so I was really learning how to swim overnight. I wasn't drowning, but it was really scary. I started drowning later that year, and I was getting overwhelmed. Like, I was trying to keep because my marriage started suffering, my relationship with my kids started suffering, my relationship with myself, like everything was just overwhelming. I was so overwhelmed constantly. And I remember very specifically one night I couldn't take it anymore. I I I couldn't. Everything was so hard. Everything around me was so hard. I was trying to make sense of all of it. And I got down, I got out of bed, got down on my knees, and I just did what I had always seen other people do. I put my hands together, put my head down, and I just started crying, begging, pleading to God, I need help. I can't do this. Like, I don't know what to do with my marriage. I don't know what to do with these two amazing kids. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Please, please help me. Please. I I just want to feel better. I just want to be happy again. Oh, familia. And from that point on, it was kind of like I said, okay, I surrender to you, show me. And that's when things just started to really like unfold for me. Like, I mean, within a few weeks, my ex-husband and I are filing for divorce. Within a few weeks, he's out of the house. Within a few weeks, I'm 100% a single mom. And I am just like, what happened? Now, I share this. I don't want to deter any of you from having a relationship with God when it comes to the point. What I'm trying to say is when you are ready to ask for help and you ask for help, be prepared because the help will come. You just got to accept the kind of help because there's the thing. I remember when I prayed to God, my prayer was not necessarily saying, "Help me, I want to get a divorce." It was, "Help me, I don't know what to do with my marriage." My idea was, can you fix my marriage? Can you like miraculously come and just fix my ex-husband or my husband at that point, fix me, fix the kids, like just fix us and we'll be a happy family again? That's technically what I was praying for. I didn't say those words, but I prayed for please help me. And me thinking, okay, that's that's how you're gonna help me, right? And so when things started unfolding, and I was like, I remember going back, praying, saying, God, this is not what I wanted. And yeah, it wasn't stopping. Like, I knew in my heart that this was the best decision, even though it was not the decision I wanted. I didn't want to get a divorce. I did not want to get a divorce, familia. I will say this as many times as I have to. I did not want to get a divorce. I loved my husband so much. I wanted to be there and do whatever I could. However, at this point, I knew that I had to do something for me. And I could not, like these things, whatever was happening at that point was out of my control. And I had given my control over to God. And so I was like, well, so it's kind of like that part of like the radical acceptance, but it was really hard. Um, and then from there, it didn't stop. Like things started coming into my life, more spirituality, more people who were on a spiritual path, healers. Like it kind of just like, again, when I prayed, my spirit team just came together and brought it all to me. And it was it's been a beautiful journey. And so I want to continue to share about like, so that happened in 2022. This recording today, I'm recording this in what day? Okay, September 18th of 2024. 2 years have passed since that breakdown. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I just like had like this moment of realization. I had that breakdown around this time of year in September. Yes, I don't remember the date exactly, but I remember it was September because it was right after my girl's birthday, and her birthday was early September. And so, oh my goodness. So 2 years have passed since I just said, "Okay, God, take my life. Take it. I surrender to you. You have control." And a lot has happened in these 2 years. A lot has happened. And it's been hard. I don't want to sugarcoat it and say, "Oh, it's been the best thing in the world. It's been so easy." It has been the best thing in the world, and it has not been easy. It has not been easy. Um, Letting go of control, letting go of this thought that it has to be like my life has to be this way has been really hard. Um, to just hand over to a higher power. But it's been beautiful. And it is manageable. 2 years later, here I am, a single parent, doing it, loving it. There's days where I don't love it. I'm not gonna lie. There's days where I'm like, God, really? Like this is what we signed up for? And I every time I say that, I feel like this like laughter in me saying like, Yeah, this is what we signed up for, and we're gonna enjoy it, right? And we're like, that's right, we're gonna enjoy it. Um, but so I want to give you all some tips because familia, having a relationship with God absolutely changes your life. I cannot emphasize that enough. I cannot. And here's the beauty. Find it your way. Like so tip number 1, I really want to say this. It's make it your own way. Make it your own way. Whatever calls you, whatever feels right for you, take that. Take what you like and leave the rest. I have met so many people on their own spiritual journeys who don't believe in tarot cards. And that's cool. Like I get it. Like not like again, no one not everyone has to believe in that. But if there's like this part of you that you're like, well, let me try it. Let me give it a chance. And if it calls you, what's wrong with that? You know, there's other people who are spiritual who are extremely religious, go to church and believe in everything that the church says, and they are very spiritual people, and I'm like, wow, that's great, that's amazing. Again, I do like religion. I do not like some of the things about certain religions, so I take what I have liked and leave the rest. I respect all of it because at the end, the core for me has been all about just one higher power. And however we want to define it or make it look like for us, that brings us peace and joy, let's embrace that. So make it your own. Make it your own. Make it your own. So tip number 1, aside from that, like these are my 5 tips because I actually wrote a blog and I'll be sure to put it in the description of if you want to read the whole blog. But tip number 1 is set your intention. Literally, like say it out loud. What is it that you feel spirituality would do for you? What is it that you're wanting spirituality to do for you? My intention when I first started all of this was I need help. I don't know what I need. And it really was that. Like I don't know what I need, but you do, so help me. Like help me. For some people, they want to deepen that relationship with God because they want more happiness, they want more abundance, they want more joy, they want to love. Like again, everyone's in a different place, but it really is about setting the intention. Because once you declare what it is that you want out of that relationship, then be prepared to receive because it, that's what higher powers are waiting for. The second tip that I really encourage all of you to really take a look at in your daily life is, do you have a sacred space? Do you have a place where you can go and unplug and retreat from others? Retreat from your kids, your spouses, your friends, your family, your pets. It could be in your home, you know, for those who have a sacred space in your home. For others, it could even be outside, like anywhere that you can just find peace. But that's important is being able to create a space where you can go to anytime you feel like you need to connect to your higher power. The third tip is daily gratitude. That was something that I picked up on, and I talked a lot about this in my journaling podcast episode where I talked about how like I started keeping a daily gratitude journal. And daily gratitude really did make a difference because in my hard days, in the days where I was in the dark, in the days where I felt again that little creeping anger at God would come in, I'd have to sit down and think about the things I was grateful for. Because the more I focused on what I had, I was forgetting about what I lost. And daily gratitude really does help with that. It reminds you of the present moment. Because when I was angry at God, I was angry at God when I was stuck in the past and when I was stuck in the future. I was angry at God for taking my dad away, and then I was angry at God for not allowing my dad to be there for me for my wedding, for the birth of, well, I didn't have biological kids, but you know, for the birth of his grandchildren, whatever. Like you know, like I was mad at God for the past and for the future. But when I started really practicing daily gratitude in the moment of like, but I'm grateful for this today, right now, this moment. This is real. I started cultivating more of that appreciation for God. Um, another one that I highly encourage is meditation. That's another tip is regularly meditate. And the, the fun part about this is that you get to meditate and make it your own. It doesn't have to be the position and you just go into silence and silencing your mind. Yeah, that's great and all, but again, for someone like me who struggled in quieting my mind, I had to find other ways to meditate. And a lot of the times, no joke, was washing dishes. When I had dishes to wash, I would just zone out during the dishes and just scrub and scrub. And I especially loved dirty, like the dirtier the dishes, the better I enjoyed, especially those pots and pans, because there was something so magical about a dirty pot and pan. You see it sticky, you see it gunky, and then you just start scrubbing, 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 and just wiping and scrubbing, wiping and scrubbing. And next thing you know, you have this pot all spick and span. And it's just like, wow, like I did that. Like it was this disgusting and now it's super clean. There was just something magical about that for me and very meditative for me. So anything that you can keep your mind busy without like keeping it busy with doing something versus thinking, because that's what it is. For me, meditating had to become, how can I get my brain to stop thinking for a minute and just rest. So find what works for you for daily meditation. My meditation now has become a meditating with a prayer. So I'll do my prayers first, and then I'll meditate to see, because it's true. We pray to talk to God. We meditate to listen to God. So try that. Might work. You might be surprised. Again, it'll take some time. And my last tip is go outside. Go outside. Connect with nature, connect with the beauty outside of us. When we really connect with nature, there's this, I don't know how to explain it. Like there's this motherly love that's felt. Um I love being outside. And it's really finding ways to do it, especially so here's one disclaimer that I really want to share, and this is why it's important when I say like this is a tip that's important, and also find ways to do it. Extreme weathers can make it hard to go outside. And when that happens, I know I feel the difference in me when I feel starting to disconnect. So if you cannot go outside, then do your best to do any of the other 5 tips. Because if you cannot connect with Mother Nature, like you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it. You're going to feel a little off. I have felt it. And so I always tried my hardest to, at least if I couldn't go outside because it was a and like, triple digit weather, I would just do my best to just meditate more or pray more, or I would go into my little so my sacred space in my home is literally at night when my kids go to bed, and it's my little, like I have a little corner in my couch. I don't know what it is about like that spot. It's just my spot and I love it. So that's my sacred space when my kids go to bed. Sometimes during the day when I need to go to my sacred space and my kids are out and they're running around, of course I can't do that, so I make it my room. And so you'll find your space. So you got to do that more for yourself. In order for you to connect with your higher power, you have to connect within yourself first. And it's finding ways to do that. But those 5 tips have been my life, like they have been a lifesaver for me. They have been really easy for me to always remind myself how to continue staying connected to my higher power, and really developing a relationship. Um and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I have had 2 major spiritual awakenings, and For definition, a spiritual awakening is like like this grand moment of a higher realization, entering into a higher consciousness of how the world works. And my first spiritual awakening happened in 2023. And a year later, yeah, almost to the date too. A year later, in 2024, I had my second spiritual awakening. So it's been amazing. And I will be sharing my experience about spiritual awakenings. But I don't want to make this episode any longer than it already is. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about that because spirituality has changed my life, familia. It really has. Believing in something bigger than me. And then from there, looking at other things. And so, if you are all interested in what it is that I have developed my spiritual practices around, I believe in astrology. I absolutely believe in the afterlife. I believe in like candle magic, like rituals. I believe in the moon. I believe in the idea that there are multiple energies such as gods and goddesses. I don't believe in just it's like one, like it there is a higher power, but your higher power is you get to make it your own because they're all connected. Like I really see like it's all like a web, all intertwined. So I do believe in gods and goddesses. I do believe um in all energies. I believe in energies that people consider light. I believe in energies that people consider dark. I do. Like again, now if I believe it, does that mean I practice it? No, of course not. Like again, I practice what feels right for me in my heart. And there's some things that I believe, but it's like it's not for me. That's cool. Like I respect it. I respect those of you who believe in and whatever it is that you believe in. It's not calling my name. And so that's been like an amazing experience to do. I also, as you all know at this point, I would hope you all know, I believe in the tarot cards. I believe in oracle cards. I believe in scrying. I believe in ruins. Like I do believe in not ruins, runes. I do believe in ways of communication with with the spiritual side of things. Um, are you opening doors? Of course, you're opening doors. We're all opening doors. We're always opening doors. You not believing in something is also opening a door. Just letting you all know. But it's been beautiful, and I'm really grateful and really blessed that my higher power never left me, even after I was angry at 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 them for doing what for being God. Like I was angry at them for being God. To be honest, like that's the best way to put it. I'm grateful that I was never abandoned. I'm grateful that I have always had people in my life that gave me what I needed in that moment. You know, the belief of everyone comes into your life for a reason and for a season. That I hold true to my heart. I've had amazing people come into my life and I've had them leave my life. And I've had people that have come into my life to cause harm. And I grew from that. So again, like I'm just so grateful for all of the guidance that I have really seen taken place, especially the moment I surrendered. The moment that I got down on my knees and prayed and said, I need help, and then just to see the help unfold has been magical. And so I leave you all with this. Your chisme. If you have been wanting to deepen your relationship with God, a higher power, spirit, source, a saint, an angel, a goddess, a god. What is stopping you? I do not think you need to if there's something that's calling your name, do your research. Or even say it out loud to the universe. Hey, this sounds interesting to me. I want to know more. And then just be open to start seeing it more in your life. It will happen. You just have to have an open mind and an open heart. And so I leave you with that. So, familia, if you want to start having a deeper relationship with something bigger than you, what's stopping you? Take what you like and leave the rest. I had a hard time doing this because I had such a skewed view of religion. But when I took religion out of it and just made it about me and God, it became beautiful. It became my own. My higher power is not your higher power. Your higher power is not Sue Ann's higher power. Sue Ann's higher power is not John's higher power. Like everyone has their own higher power. So it's all about you finding it yourself and making it your own. And have fun doing it. Enjoy doing it. Having your relationship with God is just like any relationship that you have with people you love. It should not be a chore. And if you feel like your relationship with a higher power feels like a chore, that's where we got to reevaluate. Why does it feel like a chore? Because it shouldn't feel like a chore. But again, that's where I'm at. Those are my thoughts. I love you all so much. Thank you all for being here with this amazing episode. Uh, be sure to leave a comment. Tell me your thoughts, especially again, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you ever have any situations or anything that you ever want to reach out to me, check out my website. This is what I'm here as a spiritual life coach. That is what I do. I help you find your relationship with your higher power and guide you through that. And everyone's in a different place. I understand that. So if you're interested in knowing more, go check out my website at www.lyncomadre.com. Lincomadre.com. But yeah, I love you all so much. Thank you. Thank you for being here with this amazing episode today. With all of this, I am sending you so much fire and butterflies. And as always, don't forget, love your now. Bye.